Oil mogul J. Howard Marshall II, estimated to be worth over $550 million, died Saturday in Houston, Texas at the age of 90. His widow, actress/model Anna Nicole Smith, released the following statement to the press. What's happening, Cleveland? Thank you very much. Let's see who fed it and who ate it this week. A 19-year-old Beverly Hurd testified on Monday that as a teenager, she had sex with Democratic Congressman Mel Reynolds as often as 3 times a week. Reynolds denies the charge, saying he doesn't even fuck his constituents 3 times a week. The Republican Party announced that Florida State Senator Robert Hardin was involuntarily committed to a sanitarium this week. Apparently, party officials rushed Hardin to the facility after he expressed some concern for minorities and the poor. And Judge Lance Ito was replaced for a half hour by Judge John Reed on Monday because of a conflict involving his wife. O.J. Simpson then asked the court, hey, I had a conflict with my wife. Can I get a replacement for a couple hours there? In Brazil, reports of forced labor have grown so numerous that President Fernando Cardoso announced this week he is forcing some of his assistants to look into it. I looked at that around 4 hours ago. I said, I'm going to eat such a big pile of shit with this joke. And then I began to doubt my ability to extricate myself from the bad joke. So I convinced myself to do it. Now I'm fucked. The audience will endure the precipitous fall from grace as long as one receives it with a suitable degree of aplomb. A new study shows that kids who come from large families have lower grades than kids who come from small families, but that kids who come from large families can surround the kids from small families and beat the living shit out of them. This past weekend, 50,000 members of the religious group Promise Keepers packed the Thunderdome in St. Petersburg, Florida. The Promise Keepers actually sold 90,000 tickets, but 40,000 of them didn't show up. All right. Had to percolate on that one for a second. It was announced this week that researchers have discovered the first known human gene that predisposes people to obesity. It's called the bib overall gene. And officials in Pageland, South Carolina want anyone who came into contact with a rabid cat at the In-N-Out Mini Mart to contact authorities. Officials say the rabid cat is feeling much better and just wants to apologize to everyone individually before he is put to sleep. Even I can't get out of 2, that's shitty. Waterworld had another strong weekend at the box office, pulling in $13.5 million. Insiders attribute the success to the $13.5 million set aside in the budget to buy up tickets. And President Clinton accused Congress of riding an anti-environmental wave this week. Hey, Bill, it's not a wave, it's an oil slick, and it's getting bigger. You know, I was driving to work in L.A. the other day, and there was some guy on talk radio claiming that federal pollution rules are too tough. I would have called him to argue, but the smog was so thick I couldn't see the numbers on my fucking car phone. Has anyone seen the Los Angeles skyline lately? I think God invented the L.A. basin so he'd have someplace to stub out his cigarettes. And we all know the problem is not just here in L.A., it's nationwide. Hell, it's global. Now, I don't want to get off on a rant here, but we treat our whole planet the way college kids treat a frat house. We say we love it, then we piss on the stairs. You know, there are so many oil spills, our waterways are now classified leaded and unleaded. By the year 2015, the Earth's oceans will have a hard candy shell on them like an M&M. It'll be Tupper World, and eventually every 6 weeks we'll have to burp the coastline. Now, there are 2 well-entrenched camps on the ecology issue, but they're probably not as far apart as they think. Remember, a developer is someone who wants to build a house in the woods, and an environmentalist is someone who already has a house in the woods. But truth be told, in a battle between corporate profits and the environment has about as much chance of coming out on top as Pat Buchanan does of winning a Soul Train Life Achievement Award. Will our politicians save us? Guess again, Woodsy Owl. When it comes right down to it, the green in our parks and forests will always take a back seat to the green in our legislators' wallets. Where do I stand on the ecology? I don't want to sound like a wuss, but I'm somewhere in the middle on this one. I'm sure we all find it alarming that every year 20,000 species become extinct, and yet that Bronson Pinchot, Mark Lynn Baker piece of shit continues ad nauseum in syndication. But then there's the flip side of the whole issue. Beyond ecology, way out there on the fringe, we have the photosynthetically crazed zealots. You know, the kind of people who jerk off to the Hellstrom Chronicles. The people who will tell you that virtually anything we do can wreck the quote-unquote delicate balance of nature. I have no idea what that refers to. From what I can tell from watching the Discovery Channel, the Earth has traditionally been about as well-balanced as Amanda Plummer on a triple espresso. I mean, do we need to save every last goddamn variation of sandbug known to man? Do we really need the 3-clawed hermit crab, the insouciant crab, the cable installer crab? Fuck the crabs! Fuck the seahorses they rode in on. What the... Garbage, I'm so far beyond management. What we have to do is split the difference between utter disregard and paranoid concern and light down on pragmatic, well-reasoned, and most importantly, attainable solutions. After all, we're talking about the future of our Earth, the planet all of us call home, with the obvious exception of Bob Dornan. So, what are these solutions? Well, I think we all agree that the first step towards making this a greener planet is clearly more songs by Sting. But here are some other surefire recommendations to save the good old planet Earth. 1, we need to all bite the Thomas Alva Edison bullet and reduce our power consumption. A nice first step in saving wattage might be to cut back on the number of digital electronic signs outside the Hard Rock cafes alerting us to imminent problems in the ecosystem. 2, when using spray deodorants that contain chlorofluorocarbons, try not pointing it so much towards the ozone layer. We need the ozone, and currently it has more holes in it than the plot of a Steve Allen murder mystery. Remember, the ozone keeps radiation out. The beach is no fun in a 200-pound lead moo-moo, unless, of course, you're Alan Carr. 3, If you visit South America, don't burn down their rainforest. 4. When you throw an aluminum can out your car window on the freeway, try to make sure it lands in a place easily visible so that the squares can clean it up. 5, get Hanna-Barbera to share their technology that allowed automobiles to be run on foot power. 6, petroleum companies, don't hire drunken freighter captains who will inevitably end up spilling more oil than Nick Barkley's barber. Christ. We're still paying the piper in Prince William Sound. If Exxon dragged its feet anymore in that cleanup, they'd look like Richard III. 7, take your kids to an actual forest and not a theme park called Arborland, where the trees almost kind of seem semi-real. Don't they, kids? 8, get rid of mini malls. How many tanning salons / do-it-yourself frame store / manicure parlor / mailbox USA / taekwondo donut joints do we fucking need? All right. 9, recycle. Get rid of the mini malls. How many tanning salons / do-it-yourself frame store / manicure parlor / mailbox USA / taekwondo donut joints do we fucking need? And 10, most importantly, let's be adaptable, people. There's always a compromise solution out there if you just look hard enough for it. To all our friends watching tonight in Taiwan on Chiang Kai-shek-a-vision or whatever the fuck you call it, you guys like the taste of tiger penis soup? You think it's a delicacy, do you? Doesn't mean you have to kill the tiger. Use your heads. Just order a bowl of chicken broth, then have a tiger walk over and teabag his dick in it. Of course, that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. Thank you. I want to know what you think, America. Give me a call, 1-800-LACTOSE. My guest tonight ought to give us something to talk about. Please welcome, just in the nick of time, great musician, a 7-time Grammy winner, Bonnie Raitt. Bonnie. Now, I know you're a big ecology prayer. A lot of that was tongue-in-cheek.
I thought it was fantastic.
Oh, well,
absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, very sweet. Now, what do you see as the number one? You know, everybody has their thing that they're scared of. What's the number one threat to the ecology of this planet in your eyes? What do you think's the worst problems? Water, the air?
Well, lately, the nuclear testing thing, I think, is probably the most threatening problem we have on the Earth, and I'm real happy that today Clinton actually stood his ground, which is nice considering his record on the environment, and said comprehensively no testing. So,
unfortunately, Bill Clinton stands on ground that is a slow-moving glacier, and I have no doubt that eventually...
it's a process, as they would say. But I think that this business with the French threatening to, you know, the whole idea of nuclear power and nuclear weapons at this point is such a ridiculous situation that I think we're going to have to focus on it, whether we like it or not, because at this point, the threat of plutonium, we've got more than we need. It's billions of dollars that we don't need to spend. So I would say that's one, and the big polluting companies who don't realize that it's good business to be in harmony with the environment instead of fighting it. And frankly, they'd rather pay their lobbyists and lawyers to fight regulations than to pay the engineers to switch over to more non-polluting ways. So I think that's the biggest problem.
Yeah, right. Wow. So, what do you people like, pro-Earth? But before we move on, where the fuck do the French get off threatening anybody? All right, now...
Exactly.
What are you going to threaten me with? You won't bathe? Hello, that ship sailed. Now, I think I see a way to make everybody happy. It almost seems to me that you're going to have to make it profitable for big businesses to get in the Save the Planet thing.
It is.
Isn't that the only...
I think in Europe they're already doing that. I mean, they you know, the fact is that companies like 3M and Ben & Jerry's are proving that, you know, the people actually across all the polls, all the major polls, even in America, have said that people don't want to stop regulating the environment. And it's just the oil companies and timber and nuclear industries that have bought Congress, basically, and they're the ones that are throwing 20 years of environmental legislation out the window. So I don't think we're going to stand for it. And it is good business to be environmentally sound, and they'll figure it out eventually.
Now, you mentioned the Prez earlier. I thought he and Gore were going to do more for this, didn't you?
Tell me about it,
Yeah.
you know? I mean,
Especially
I think
Gore. I thought Gore would just embarrass him into doing more stuff, because Gore's
got
out
a
there.
book out, you
He's
know what I
schlepping
mean?
that book, man, like
well, I mean,
Jackie Suzanne. I thought he was definitely...
Definitely. They're you know, they got elected by a lot of environmentalists working really hard, and there's a lot of people in Congress and the Senate that went down because of the situation of him turning his back on things that he promised. You know, Ward Valley here in California, they're threatening to, you know, the Babbitt okayed federal funds for a nuclear waste site.
The guy who had his
20 miles
Johnson
from the
cut off?
Colorado. No, different guy.
Oh, okay.
Hey.
Guy who didn't have a Johnson to begin with.
The night
All right,
is young, you know what I mean? Yeah, I think he's turned his back on a lot of promises, and it's time for him to, you know, fess up if he wants anybody like us to be working for him for the next election.
But doesn't it seem like a never-ending game in some regards? Don't
Politics,
they all?
you mean?
Don't they all whip it out like a calling card to get the vote of the good-minded liberal people in this country, and then as soon as they get elected, they seem to just
yeah, power
turn their
corrupts.
back.
It appeared. I mean, he's trying to do the right thing, and you know, he's stood his ground on this nuclear thing. Let's see, he's still got some time left, but you know, he better get on the stick, as they say.
Are you friends with Ed Begley?
Yeah.
Ed's committed to this stuff, isn't
Yeah,
he?
he is. He
I hear he
drives around
took
an
Annette
electric
Bening
car.
to the Oscars in a solar car.
Yeah.
That's my favorite image.
I like
She
it.
must have been so pissed off, you know? Ed whipping up in that absent-minded professor car, and she's just, fuck, I gotta go marry Warren Beatty. All right, we got some phone calls. Line one, we got Gigi from New York City. Gigi?
Hi. First of all, you are my moondoggie of the time tunnel. Okay, I think you're totally cool.
I hope that's a compliment. Thank you, baby.
Absolutely. And Bonnie, I think you're absolutely underrated as a slide guitarist. I think you're just really amazing.
Who should where should I look to thank Gigi?
Oh, New York City. I'm calling from New York. And,
Red light.
Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate
New York.
it.
and
So,
also, speaking of underrated, I saw you years ago at the Oxford Ale House with Alex Taylor, who was James Taylor's
Wow,
brother,
yeah.
who was a great
Great
songwriter. and,
singer, too.
Yeah, and he, you know, you also with Delbert McClinton and Jackson Brown
Delbert.
and all these people. Who else do you think are underrated now, today, as songwriters?
Ecologically.
Underrated. I think ecologically, I would say, well, a couple of people that I know, a lot of musicians love. Richard Thompson, he's been around for years and years. One of the greatest writers we have from Paul Brady, a great Irishman. And Delbert, you know, come on, the guy's the baddest thing. You can have Michael Bolton, we'll take Delbert, you know what I mean?
Line two, we got John from Dodge City. I can't believe there's actually a Dodge City, Kansas. John?
Wow.
Where are you with Milburn Stone over at the Long Branch, baby?
Hey, I tell you what, I've been there before, and it actually does exist.
All right.
First of all, I love your show, and Bonnie, I really like your music. My question is, for probably both of you, how do you think the Clinton administration's making out on their environmental policy in the face of the opposition from Newt and the rest of the Republicans?
All right, how much, you know, Newt Gingrich has become like this catch-all for everybody. What do you think of him in this area? Is he...
He's probably to that side of politics what Jerry Garcia was to that side of counterculture. You know, I mean, he's a talisman of what could be, you know. And I don't know how many people he speaks for, but he's certainly got a lot of money in his pocket from companies that stand to gain a lot by keeping these regulations, throwing them out the window and doing whatever the hell they want to the environment. So I think it's time for us, you know, who put we didn't spend all these years getting this ground laid, pardon the expression, I don't mean laid. I mean the groundwork for all these. All
There's
this
some
stuff
big, stiff trees in the forest.
Yes,
Bonnie.
that's what I was going to say. And there's wood, and then there's wood. I mean, I just.
If an erection falls in the forest.
I'll be there to check it out.
Line 3, we've got Michelle from Woodridge, Illinois. Mitch?
Hi.
What's happening?
Dennis, I've always thought of you as a very opinionated man.
Yes.
I'm sure you feel the same.
Thank
you. Do you feel you're able to get your views across easier and that they might be more acceptable using a more comedic approach rather than a serious tone, as most politicians in your view?
I'm doing a comedy show here, baby.
Well,
Just because you don't have the cliff notes. I don't know what that means. This is a comedy show. You think I'm being too serious?
No, I don't mean that. I just think more people might be more acceptable of your opinions and other people's opinions about the environment and such if you put it in a more comedic approach.
All right. I'm going to conserve something here and cut you off, all right? Thank you. All right. I don't even know what she meant. I thought the show was funny up to this point. See, now that's how you get inside my head. Yeah, you can call and say, fuck you, Dennis. I'm fine with that. But now I'm thinking, have I not been funny? I got to do the news. Nice hand for Bonnie Raitt. Bonnie, can you stick around? All right. Huh? Chick freaked me out. She was gaslighting me, man. I split the room. She burnt the candles down. California Governor Pete Wilson appeared on Meet the Press Sunday to discuss his theory that El Pollo Loco restaurants are actually safe havens for illegal immigrants secretly funded by the Mexican government. Hey, look at the clown. You can sob all you want, Grandma. I'm still going to slash Medicare. Well, Mr. President, if you're standing, then I'd say you're only in shit this deep. What? What did you say? Am I too gold to run for president? What? What? Here we see the young Washington, D.C. man whose job it is to select the shafts that Congress will eventually jam up the asses of the American voter.
Good one, Dennis.
See, that was funny out there. If you're not back at the butter churn already. Sorry, I'm weak. I'm ballless as far as comedy goes. Okay, Wednesday at the Senate investigation of the Whitewater scandal, presidential aide Bruce Lindy became distraught when he suddenly realized his alibi for a key night in question was that he was with Illinois Congressman Mel Reynolds. At a news conference in Chicago, G. Gordon Liddy finally admitted that the root of all his dysfunction comes from the fact that the G in his name stands for Gabriella. To celebrate the fact that there won't be public hearings on his sexual harassment charges, Bob Packwood sponsored a picnic for his staff on Wednesday. Well, CBS's Face the Nation officially gave up this week and renamed their show Balding Nearsighted White Guys. On Thursday, defense attorney Johnny Cochran came up with an alibi so ridiculous, even O.J. burst out laughing. I summon the god of legal defense, make this overwhelming mountain of bullshit and evidence go away. Auditions for the Russian Three Stooges were held in Moscow this week. Unfortunately, previous commitments have kept me from making it to Orlando for the fabulous Carol Burnett birthday salute, but on behalf of everyone here in Iraq, I say happy birthday, Carol. Here we see French President Jacques Chirac explaining to the much more open-minded French press, these two, I'm fucking them, of course. A man claiming to be Garfield the cat was arrested in L.A. earlier today. Here we see the family that controls the tides. Florida's newest theme park opened on Wednesday, Leah and Joe's Goiter Town. No, it's mouth to mouth, you idiots. Boy, my barbed wire's coming up real nice this year. Let me get this straight. I go on jury duty and you let Slappy work the pumps? Here we see India's hottest new comic, Chutney Top. Make a note, need new wife. Here we see the audience at a John Tesh concert after Tesh asking, how many of you came here tonight because you lost a bet? Hugh Hefner and his wife Kimberly returned from Stepford, Massachusetts this week. For God's sakes, I can't stand it anymore. Turn off your fucking left-hand turn signal! To Tanya, I'm not really Elvis. Wake the fuck up, sign some fat guy. And finally, psst, OJ, little smudge of blood, right here. Guess what, folks? That's the news, and I am out of here. Good night.